Today I'm going to tell you how I lost the house, and, well, it goes without saying. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about my goals. I'm going to tell you about this house. My goals in life really are to help people invest in real estate like I do, because it's been so lucrative for myself and my family to invest in simple real estate deals, getting 30-year fixed rate loans where we don't have to worry about what the market does, yet buying them in such a way to where we're making a lot of money because we're buying them under market value and we're holding on to them. Well, today was supposed to be the day that I was going to upload a video saying, hey, congratulations, I got my fourth one of those deals in Southern California in 2019 alone, which would have been awesome and epic, but I didn't get it. I lost the deal. And today I'm going to explain why, what happened, why the deal was so good, and we'll go through a little bit of more education for you so that if you're ever in this kind of situation or you're having those feelings of missing out, then know that it happens to all of us. But let's get into some of the lessons that we could learn and why I was so excited about this house at first anyway. And don't forget, for the San Francisco crash course, you can email me for a +1. So first things first, I saw this property hit the market and I knew immediately, without even looking at any kind of similar sales or whatever, I thought that is a good deal. I'll be writing an offer on that. And that's something that, just so you know, it happens as you live in an area and you grow up in an area. You know which streets are good. You know which neighborhoods are good. You know which areas of town you do not want to go at 9 p.m. at night to conduct a Craigslist transaction, okay? Yeah, well, this was one of those where I would want to conduct a transaction at 9 p.m. at night. Overall, I knew there was going to be value in this because the price was way lower than what the neighborhood had called for. I'm going to change some of the numbers a little bit. I don't want to give this this property away just so I don't get in trouble with the MLS again. Remember, folks, don't sue me, bro. But the property hit the market for, let's say, $430,000, and it hit the market for about 28% less than what I knew the property would be worth. Now, it would need about $55,000 worth of work, but it was really basic kind of work. And that would be the kind of work where it would be $55,000 with me hiring out everything. And this becomes very important for what happens here, because if I had to spend $55,000 on flooring, painting cabinets, painting walls, scraping the ceiling, painting the exterior, doing some landscaping, painting the garage walls, doing some wallpaper removal, these are all really basic things I just mentioned, really simple cosmetic things. If I had to pay $55,000 to do these things, a homeowner could have probably gone in there and nights and weekends done the same work for maybe $25,000. That's probably less than half that because they could do it with their own labor. Well, that ends up becoming very important. See, this particular property, while it was listed so low, it wasn't scary. It didn't need a lot of work. It was one of those where you look at it, you go, copper plumbing, sewer lines are good, roof's good, all the systems are good, kind of like what I teach in the real estate investing course, linked below. Oh, remember that code expires Halloween night, by the way, so check that out. And so pretty much the systems are good, yet it just has wallpaper and acoustic ceilings and all the basic cosmetic stuff that any homeowner could handle. Well, unfortunately, that's where I say it just wasn't bad enough. See, ideally, this property would have had some toxic black mold somewhere, or like a hole in the floor from the second story to the first story, or something that would be really easy to solve with a respirator, like cleaning up the mold or patching that hole in the floor, but something that would have made it abundantly clear to any typical home buyer not to buy this house, like stay away. Let Kevin buy the house and take all the profits for himself, okay? But no, this deal wasn't that bad. It didn't need that much work. It's like, it's frustrating because it's such a good, whatever. So anyway, you can kind of get the picture of what the house looked like. Now, let's talk a little bit about numbers. See, the reason I knew the property was so undervalued was because all I had to do was draw a little circle on Redfin around the neighborhood, or you can do this on Zillow too, and see, wow, this is listed for $430. Everything else is selling for $600,000 to $650,000. That's a smoking hot deal. Like, you put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 into it, you're still way up. And so knowing this, I mean, look, it's not like you're always going to come across unicorns that have no competition. I knew there was going to be competition, but I have a few ways of making sure that I can beat competition. The way I usually do that is if I'm getting a loan, I make sure my loan is not only do I have a pre-approval letter, but I have what's known as a pre-underwritten pre-approval letter. Talk to your lender about that. Stuff like this we teach in the investing course, but I'll just give it to you here for now. In addition to that, you got to have your proof of funds ready to go. A lot of people are like squeamish, like, oh, I don't want to give my bank statement if I'm going to be buying a house. I like, you know, that's embarrassing. People are going to see my bank account. No. Just here's the offer. Here's the pre-underwritten pre-approval letter. Here's the proof of funds. And you know what? On top of that, here are pictures of me on the roof. I've already gone through the property. I've already inspected that it's got aluminum breakers to the laundry machine and to the oven. But guess what? I don't really care that it has aluminum wiring to that because it's got copper wiring to everything else. And I'm going to be replacing those appliances with gas anyway. But I'm not going to tell you guys. The point is, you go through and you do a little bit of due diligence up front so that you can confidently tell the seller, hey, I am comfortable with this property. In fact, so comfortable that I will even shorten or sometimes even completely remove my right to cancel based on an inspection. Because most sellers are fearful that you're going to go in and say, okay, I know you listed it for $450. Well, here's $500. I'm going to pay more, which it's okay to pay more than the listing price, especially if there's so much sort of meat on the bone, so to speak. You know, it's okay to pay a little bit more than the listing price if it's still so much below market value. That's different, by the way, from like what syndications have to do, or pension funds, or real estate investment trusts. These companies, they get so much money that they have to place the money, and they are pretty much begging to get deals, and they will massively overpay for real estate. This is why I like the single family and the small deal space so much, because there is still so much of an opportunity to get below market value deals. In this particular deal, by the way, I was expecting to easily get $100,000 in bonus equity out of it. So here's how that equity part works. Let's say it's listed for $430 and you end up paying, I don't know, $5 for it, and you put in $50,000, but now it's worth $650. That's $100,000 of extra value you got. I call that the 2x wedge. The wedge is you getting it below market. 2x is you spent 50, but you got 100 extra on top of that. And the least you usually want to go is the 1x wedge, where let's say you spend $50,000, you pay $500 for the place, you're into it for $550, and it's worth $600, right? That would give you an extra 50 of equity. That's the 1x wedge. So you really want to be between 1x and 2x. I thought this was going to be a 2xer, aka $100,000 of value that I could do whatever the heck I want with and don't have to pay taxes on. Talk about that on the channel all the time. I'm not going to go into that now. Consult a CPA and you'll learn. But bottom line, even paying significantly more than the asking price, I was still expecting to make a really good amount of money on the deal. Now, I knew obviously there was going to be competition for this deal. That's why I knew I would end up having to pay more than the asking price, which is fine. Like, I'm not trying to rip people off, you know, just trying to get a deal that makes sense for all parties and make some money investing in real estate. You can do this all across the country, all across the world, for goodness sakes. It's not that hard to do. But I've always said there are three main types of buyers, but there's actually a fourth type that I haven't really talked about before. See, let's talk about the main three first, and this is really going to help you out make money in life. If you just remember this small little whiteboard example here throughout life, it'll do wonders for you. Which, by the way, this whiteboard was a gift. Thank you so much for the person who sent this to me. It beats the foldable whiteboard that I've been using. Yeah, anyway. So, here's the scoop. Here are the 4 types of buyers you've got. So you've got your usual kind of home buyer here. They're the ones who are going to pay the most for real estate. They're usually the ones who are looking for move-in ready, nice quality, looks good. They'll go buy the flip properties. They'll buy the turnkey garbage. The stuff like that I would never touch. Then you've got all the way at the bottom, you've got the flippers, which we've heard me say this before. You've got the flippers. They have to pay the least. And they actually pay a little bit more than the wholesalers, which the wholesalers are way down here, but you can kind of put these in the same little bucket here because the wholesaler usually only wants like a 5 to 10K fee anyway if they find a good deal. So they're kind of down here, wholesalers and flippers. They're going to pay the least, but they also do far fewer deals than home buyers, obviously, because you can't always pay that little. Well, then you have me that comes in, and I like to be a renter. That is, I own the property and I rent it out, and I can pay more than the flippers and the wholesalers, but much less than the home buyers. And this is usually by a substantial margin. This is where that wedge comes in, that $50,000 to $100,000 below market value wedge. This is really good. There's only one freaking person that will buy a fixer-upper and pay more than me. And this is where I lost the house, or to whom I lost the house, which is very frustrating because I'm like, there's no way one of these people is going to come around. There's no way. That's at least what I told myself. And I actually told Lauren too, and I told my father-in-law. I'm pretty much like, I got this deal because there's no way. I know I got the flippers and the wholesalers beat. I know there are no home buyers looking at this because they're over at the new construction developments paying top dollar. I got this one. The only person that can beat me is the home buyer who intends to rent the property out in the future and is comfortable doing the handy person repairs themselves. Remember at the beginning of the video, the person that I said, hey, the person who could pay more than me is somebody who, instead of having to spend $55,000 like me, can do the work themselves and spend $25,000. Yeah, well, that person, they can still get a $50,000 to $100,000 wedge, but they can pay $30,000 more than me, still get the wedge, put the labor in, and they win. Now, this is really useful for you to know as well. The flippers and wholesalers and the other investors, they're going to make up probably somewhere around 8% of the market, sometimes as high as 9% of the market. The people who are going to rent out a property, that only makes up like 2 to 3%. That's why there's oftentimes, there's so many opportunities to do this. There's so many easy opportunities to get wedge deals. Well, then there's like this probably 0.5% of the population that can be a home buyer and a handy person and will actually buy a wedge deal and fix it up themselves. These people, they will always be able to beat me, which pisses me off because, I used to be that person, and I would change out all the outlets, the light fixtures, the drywall. I would do all that stuff myself. And that really leaves you up here at somewhere around 89% of people who are buying homes are just kind of the regular home buyers. They have not taken my courses in the link below, and they're missing out on a ton of money, okay? They're the people that are like, well, I'll just buy a house for market value, but I'll go invest in the Roth IRA, and I'll save some money on taxes. I'm not trying to bag on the Roth. Just saying, you're leaving lots of money on the table, okay? For people like me. Thank you very much. Now, I will say I am that idiot who records videos like this while the stuff is actually going on, and I don't schedule my videos out. I just post my videos when they're done. So I'm supposed to hear what happens with this deal today at 7 p.m. Today's Monday, October 28th. And I'll probably post this video before then, which, again, is also kind of stupid. But the reason I know and the reason I say I've lost the deal is because the way I negotiate, which, yes, I also teach you how to negotiate in the course. I just started to sound like a broken record here. But the way I negotiate is based on information gathering. And pretty much I already know, unless for some reason that person disappears because I'm next in line, unless they disappear, I know I've lost the house, and they're not disappearing. So I've lost the house. I'm really bummed. It was supposed to, like, I was going to celebrate so hardcore about getting my 4th wedge deal. It was going to be so fun. Just because, 4 is like an even number, and I mean, I feel like that's motivating. It's inspiring. But I will tell you, there's a lot of emotion that goes in because, now I spent a lot of the day yesterday driving around looking at other opportunities, just kind of like, where's something else? And it's almost like that, when you're playing Call of Duty and you get creamed by somebody and then like, you feel like you have to run out there again and like, I'm going to get that guy back, and you always lose. Yeah, it's always a bad idea to do that. Like, being impatient is bad. So even though I know this is going away, I need to be patient. I know there are deals that come up literally every week in like every market. So there's no shortage of deals. This is just very sincere, real talk of Kevin feeling impatient. I want another deal this year. And I want it fully renovated before the year's over too. Like, I want to be at my New Year's Eve party with Lauren and the kids, because we don't really party, going, that's right, 4 in a year, 1 per quarter. Let's do it again in 2020. In the meantime, follow me on Instagram, folks. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you then.